Hello and welcome back to Leader Insights on the Go. Today, I wanted to extend an invitation. If you follow me on social media, YouTube, or Instagram, you will know that I put out content specific to leadership development, but not just leadership development, it's about leadership mindset. It's really all about self discovery. And so I wanted to do a compilation of videos that I title Insights on the Go that really talk about different themes in leadership that supports our ability to be intentional, purposeful leaders. I know there are a lot of things happening in the world, and oftentimes I like to stop, think, and reflect about who am I in the process of supporting and leading people. And I wanted to share a story that happened to me 2 days ago. I was driving home from work and I needed to put gas. And I know that I need to put gas before I get home because I get up really early. And so I know that if I don't do the gas in the evening, that the mornings are going to be tough. And I get up super early. But I think I already said that. So back to my thought process and story. So I was at the gas station. I had some cash on me and I decided to go and pay at the cash register because I didn't want to use my debit card. And the man in front of me pulled out a ton of change. And I was observing the interaction. The clerk in the gas station was very patient, very calm. And he was very patient, waiting for the young man to, well, he was middle aged, maybe my age. And he put all the quarters and he started counting the quarters. And then he had nickels and then he had dimes. And it was almost like $2.70 something cents. And he said, all right, well, please put this on the pump. And I began to think how blessed I am that even in my worst of moments, I have a support system that loves me and cares about me. A support system that knows that if I don't have it, will put themselves in a position to help me, even if it takes a little bit of their joy and happiness and money out of their pockets just so that I can be okay. And to me, that was really important because that was my first thought when I saw this man do what he was doing. And so the clerk did what he needed to do. And then I said, I need put this much money. And he was like, great. He did that for me. And then I walked out and I had change. I had a $10 bill. And the whole time I'm thinking, should I offer the money? Should I not offer the money? I don't want him to be offended. And then I said, well, so what if he's offended? If he needs the money, he's going to be humble and he's going to take it. And I am going to be empathetic to the circumstance. So I walked up to him and I tapped him on the shoulder and he turned around and I said, hey, I have this change. It's $10. I figured I'd share it with you. And he just looked at me and he's like, really? And I said, yeah, I've been where you've been. And I smiled. And we both turned, he took the money and he had a quiet smile and he ran right back. Kind of clearly, he put more gas. I went to the pump. I started pumping my own gas. I didn't look back or anything. I wanted to preserve his dignity. And it's really important that when we experience moments like that, it's almost like a calling. I didn't know this man, but I know he's a business owner because he had his truck. I think he does, it's either electricity or plumbing, one of the two. But it was almost like I felt compelled. My heart was coming out of my chest if I didn't do what I knew was right for the well being of the person. So I needed to take a risk. I needed to take a chance. And I did that. And I was scared to do it because the environment that it's been created in this nation is not one of kindness. And I understood that this small gift could potentially shift the rest of the day and potentially the rest of the week so that he could get to the different jobs and continue to make money. So I wanted to tell you that story because leadership happens every time you step out of the door of your home. Every time you open your car door if you drive, every time you step out of the train if you are MTA rider or bus or Metro North, I don't know whatever you take. When you leave your home, regardless of your job, position, or title, that is leadership. Taking a risk and making sure that the well-being of the people around you is managed and taken care of. So leadership isn't about titles or power or recognition, but about understanding yourself and using your awareness to elevate others and support others. Leadership begins long before we manage teams or organizations. It begins within us in those quiet moments where we ask ourselves, who am I? What do I stand for? How can I serve others? So this small series is an invitation for you to explore these questions deeply. It's about discovering the leader within you. So we're going to dive deep into selfless leadership, the kind that puts the purpose before ego. We'll uncover the strength of empathetic leadership, where leading with compassion, connection, and care is essential. And we'll explore psychological safety, creating spaces where trust replaces fear and where every voice truly matters. In every great leader, there is a moment when they realize leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about being responsible for the growth of other people. When we lead selflessly, we model integrity. When we lead with empathy, we build belonging. When we foster psychological safety, we unlock creativity, trust, and collaboration. Before you can inspire others, we must understand who we are. Each of these videos invites you to pause, reflect, and grow, not just as a leader, but as a human being. Because leadership is more than what we do, it's who we become. And when we learn to lead with empathy, authenticity, and courage, we don't just change our workplaces, we change the world around us. So take this journey, explore the lessons, challenge your perspective, and remember the most powerful leader you'll ever meet is already within you. Hello, and welcome to Part 1, The Awakening, Foundations of Leadership. Today, I'd like to focus this session on the leader in me. This is part of our series of leadership trainings designed to explore not just management strategies, but also the personal journey of becoming a leader. One of the greatest insights I've gained while developing our course is that we don't spend enough time reflecting on who we are as people and how our personal lives, habits, and choices affect our ability to lead positively those around us. I would like to really spend some time focusing today on a journey of self-discovery. We're going to go down reflection lane and really start thinking about what it actually means to step into a leadership role. How do we do that with intention? How does it affect us, our personal social responsibility? How do we sustain it? And just as a reminder, leadership is not just about what we do, it's truly about who we are. Beginning that self-discovery process means everything when we want to invest time and effort in building other people. The journey truly begins with us, who we are as leaders, who we want to be, how do we want to perceive, and how do we want to engage in a world where we are able to leave an amazing legacy. We're going to start with a discussion on 3 keys to build relationship. The first key here is all about choosing and not drifting. And what does that actually mean? What does it mean? It means that leadership requires decisiveness. When we hesitate or avoid decisions, frustration builds. Once you decide, stand by your choice and take ownership of the outcomes. In our ability to lead others, it's extremely important that we are focused on building relationships, right? That's why I call these the keys of building relationships. And this is not just for your personal leadership style. This is a life choice. It's a life philosophy. Being able to make decisions effectively and quickly turns your leadership style into influence and credibility. And you can apply this to everything that you do. I don't know if you spend time with your friends or maybe with your spouse, but think about the times where you are both trying to decide where to go to dinner. And you have this back and forth. Well, I don't know, you pick. Well, I don't know, you pick, right? In leadership, that doesn't work. In relationships, well, it could also create a little bit of frustration. There's a distinction between being considerate and giving opportunity for others to have a voice. But in leadership and in relationships, there's also a place where decisions simply should be made and should be made decisively with a lot of ethics, with a lot of compassion, but decisively. And then make sure that as you're doing that, that you're asking important and meaningful questions along the way to ensure that there is alignment. Key number 2 is be compassionate. You have to be able to make it safe for others to engage with you. And compassion plays a really crucial role because it allows you to be honest, it allows you to be respectful in your communication, and you begin to build trust. If people feel judged and dismissed or attacked, they will shut down. Create a safe space for dialogue. Safe spaces are essential, especially in your professional environment. Make sure that you're spending some serious time building a safe environment for people to be seen and to be heard. Last key here is keep your word. At the end of the day, all you have is your word. Your word is your bond. If you say you will do something, follow through. Reliability is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of leadership. If you have a team that has no trust in you, then it is time for us to turn that around. And the way that we manage that is by keeping our word and our commitments, being dedicated to that. These 3 keys are extremely important. Choose, don't drift. Be compassionate, create a safe space, and keep your word. All these 3 actions will strengthen both your personal and professional relationships. Now let's move on to defining roles, because a lot of the work that we're going to be doing here in part 1 of the awakening is understanding who we are as people. And so one of the big things is we need to understand what our role is in the workplace. There has to be a clear understanding of who we are and who we need to be to support each other and to support our teams. And it's not just about supporting your team, it's also about supporting senior level managers as they get to know who you are as a leader, but also the people that your team may also supervise. You have a big role in understanding how to manage a successful integration in your leadership role, because at the end of the day, you are no longer doing individual contributions. You are no longer a leader of self. You are a leader of others. And part of a leadership role is understanding that your new job is not about the tasks at hand. It's about facilitating the work that others do under your guidance and leadership. We often take on roles unconsciously. We do this because we want to be helpful. We do this because we don't have a clear understanding of what we should be doing. But as you move into leadership role, you have to understand that your personal life and your leadership style and your own personality traits play a role that is integral to understand how important it is to know who you are and that you and your personal self are not different. If you like to befriend people, if you're like the joker or you take a mentorship role or you're a critic, be mindful. Some of these things may or may not work. People are now looking into you for guidance. What we want to be able to do is step into this role authentically, understanding that there are some clear boundaries that you will now need to uncover and set. We need to be able to define your leadership with intention. And part of that is looking at the different areas of your own personal life that you may need to bring into balance. Sometimes I start this process by asking, do my peers see me as professional and reliable? Doing a 360 feedback process. Do my staff take me seriously? Am I credible? Am I bringing influence into the team? Am I modeling the kind of leader I want others to become? We need to be able to look at these things in a very authentic and important way because you are the source. And while this is a collective process, you want to be able to think collectively. You also need to look at your personal foundations of leadership. Where am I in my circle of personal perspective that may create barriers, gaps, or even some self esteem that may get in the way of me being the professional that I need to be, being the leader that I need to be? And I think it's important for us to look at all of these areas. Look at your financials. Am I secure in managing stress about money? Am I working in my health and my wellness and my levels of energy? Am I spiritual or not? And how does that play into my interactions with others? And part of it is not about being religious, it's about how do I ground myself? How do I center myself? How do I take care of my needs? And therefore, I'm able to take care of the needs of others. The other piece here is really important is to think about your emotional well being. Am I interpreting life's challenges in a constructive way? In other words, half empty. It's really important that we think about our mindset. What is my mindset? How am I presenting to the world? Because part of the piece here that is so important is that leaders need to be consistent. You shouldn't be the leader that people are wondering which one they're getting in the morning. Jekyll and Hyde does not work in leadership. It's all about being consistent. And that's on you. No one else can do that for you. The circle of personal perspective is all about you, reducing the stressors that may affect your ability to lead and guide others. They go hand in hand. Leadership is not separate. You're not a leader and then you go home and you're somebody completely different at home. There's no separation here. You are who you are. And that is really what it means to show up authentically. Understanding who you are, what your barriers, limitations are, what you're working on, and then building that you can be effective with your people. And the last piece here that we need to look at is relationships. Am I thoughtful, kind? Am I building healthy connections? And I think that's really important and a great segue into building a support network because we don't get to be successful alone. It is a false belief to think that I did it. Very little few things in the world that the word I has actual space in, other than maybe building false narratives and false beliefs that create barriers for you because now you are interpreting the world in ways that may put you at a disadvantage. So it's really all about mindset. We're going to move on from relationships and really think about your support network. Behind every successful person, there is a support system. None of us succeed alone. Whether it is family, mentors, peers, or professional networks, it is important for you to identify your support network and not just identify your support network, nurture your support network. It is just as importantly to learn to let go of voices that don't support your growth. While you want to be able to have a support network, whether it's your family, friends, different social groups, childhood friends, co-workers, peers, your faith leaders, community, your spouse, those who know you best, you have to be able to nurture it. And sometimes there are people in our network that don't belong, or they have met their purpose and they're no longer contributors that support you in what you're looking to do moving forward. And so it's really important to be honest about where you are with your support network. Who do you have? Who's telling you the truth? You want people in your life that are participating honestly and with integrity. You want people in your life that are challenging outdated processes. You want people who are nurturing your growth. These are all things that it's important for you to think about as well. And we all need to do this. We all need to be reflective about the people that are investing in us. So that's going to really move us into a space of having an honest conversation about expectations. And we don't think about this often enough. When expectations that we have, that we bestow on other people, and it's a part of that relational piece. You'll notice very quickly that leadership is all about relationships. We come with unspoken expectations about what we want from other people. And I think the important thing here is that there's nothing right or wrong about that, but expectations cannot be unspoken. Sometimes expectations are set on people and people don't even know. They're not reasonable. We haven't said anything, and we haven't even asked if people are willing to meet these set of expectations. And expectations become crucial in your leadership. When you begin to engage with people and check yourself, it is important for you to completely understand that when you're setting expectations, it is your responsibility to make them fully aware of what it is that you want and expect, make them reasonable, speak about them on an ongoing basis. And you have to check buy-in. You have to make sure people are willing to be a part of the conversation of this expectation. And there has to be willingness. Part of what you want to be able to do as you step into leadership is also check yourself, because expectations is the easiest and fastest way to disappointment. And later on in our course, we're going to talk about setting standards versus expectations, because expectations become completely based on our own desires versus standards, which come from a place of clear understanding and description of what it is expected, whether it's project based, whether it is based on what the task at hand is. It's important for all of us to think about expectations in a very thoughtful and important manner. And why is this important? Why is it important to truly understand leadership? And why do we need to focus on building a leadership framework that allows us to engage people? Well, it is because we want to be able to grow and succeed. And so you also want to create distinctions between what everybody else in the world thinks a leader is. So we use the word loosely, and people, they will call you, hey, boss, they will call you, but there's power in words. And so be mindful of the connotations that some words can bring. People define boss as someone who creates fear, someone who designates blame, someone who doesn't admit to their mistakes. As you begin to define your leadership and your leadership style, take stock about the leadership traits. Who do you want to be in the process of growth and development, in the process of legacy, in the process of leading people, in the process of bringing cohesion and contributions into your team? That is extremely important. Thinking about leadership is all about personal attributes and traits. You want to be able to lead by example. You want to be able to inspire. You want to be able to challenge the process, empower, and really come from a place of honesty and compassion. We talked about compassion, the three keys of relating. That's where the heart comes in. Doesn't mean that people get free passes. It doesn't mean that people don't get to be who they are. What it means is that you have an opportunity to challenge the process. You get an opportunity to think not just with your mind and your logic, but also with your heart. There is a different level of thinking that requires leaders to work through the growing pains of managing other people. It's really important that you pause, you think about who you are, and think how you've done these things in the past. Have you led by example? Have you been able to inspire others? Have you been an advocate? Have you done that in a way that supports and brings about positive change within your teams? And if you're going into a leadership role, have you advocated for yourself in a way that brings about positive change? Are you using your heart in collaboration with your logic and your mind to lead, to make decisions? This is all going to be a part of a much deeper leadership assessment. And in here, I'm giving you a quick example of some of the things that you should be thinking about, things that should be in your toolbox, whether it's how open are you? Are you a big picture thinker? How do you manage accountability? Do you feel you create a supportive environment? Leaders also teach. Are you a facilitator of learning? Do you authentically appreciate people? Is that something that comes easily to you? Do you have a vision? Are you a visionary? Are you able to look at big picture? Are you able to look at the details? Do you inspire others? Are you reflective? Are you consistent? And are you a good listener? And I'll tell you something really important. And one of the things that I've learned is that leaders need to listen first. And it is within that process of listening that you learn what your people's needs are. Listening and being reflective are core traits of a leader as you move into collective contributions, as you move into building and growing people. So, super important that you are focused on defining who you are as a leader. And it's okay if you're a 1, it's okay if you're a 5. You want to know what you're good at and focus on building and continuing to maintain those 5-level traits. And for the things that you need to grow, it is also important to understand that you're going to want to get the support. If you lack flexibility, and flexibility can show up as a micromanager. What is a lack of flexibility? Well, it's a need to control. And so if you're a 1, it is really important that you look into that because that affects a lot of different other areas. If there's a lack of flexibility, you will not be able to delegate. You will burn yourself out because now you're doing all these different things that other people in your circle could be doing. It's really about building trust that you can have better accountability systems. That's the level of reflection that I want you to begin to think about. And as you do that, then it's also really important for you in creating goals. Leaders need to be able to have a leadership development plan with concrete goals about your own personal growth. This is why we do an assessment. And everybody knows the SMART system of reflection and goal setting. Let's make sure that you are setting SMART goals, that they are all about guiding you in building your leadership skills and building your ability to grow meaningful professional relationships. And I won't spend a lot of time on this one. I do believe a lot of us in the field understand how important this is. But for yourself, make sure that you're creating very specific goals based on your assessments. Make sure that you can measure them and look at objectively, how am I going to meet my inability to be flexible or my need of control? Or if I am a micromanager, how do I create goals that builds my container so that I can delegate and do things in a way that gives me not only peace of mind, but allows me to focus on big picture and strategic thinking? Make them achievable. Don't go and put goals that you're not going to be able to meet right away. Give it a very clear and realistic timeline. The journey of leadership is just that, a journey. You really never have a full destination. You have wins, you have moments of exponential growth, but the journey never ends. So please keep that in mind as you're thinking about your goals. Make sure that they're realistic and that you feel that you are achieving them. I love small steps. I love realistic goals that keep me moving and going. Make sure that you're celebrating. Make sure that you are creating goals that are time bound, that you can come back and say, I actually did this. So, moving on to you and reflecting as you step into this self discovery journey. And I always like to start, I love this pyramid. And one of the things that in my own personal and leadership journey I've learned is that while I was super smart, and I still am smart, you don't lose that, I needed to learn how to be assertive. And that was one of my big areas of growth. And it still is. It's a journey, like I said. Assertiveness, being able to read people, be assertive at what other people are saying and doing. I had to learn to listen and listen with intention, not in a way that it was defensive. It doesn't work, but I needed to learn how to think in an assertive way, how to listen intentionally so that I could understand people's motives and asks. Then I moved into facilitating. If you don't know what you're facilitating, you're not effective. You have to listen, you have to be assertive, and then move into that piece of supporting guidance and facilitation. And then you got to get your communication down. You have to be able to communicate clearly and with respect and with kindness. And communication is something that you're going to be doing quite a lot. Communication is not just, oh, I'm talking, I'm coming in a meeting and I'm saying what I need to say. It is all levels of communication: email, text messages, letters, project management, tasks and deliverables, reports. All of that is really important. And the one thing that most people don't do is questions. Getting really good at asking questionings and also questioning the process so that you can better build a sense of where people are at. And so that you can also get the information that you need. And then you need to look at the self, your self-awareness, who you are. Because we all want to keep growing in this process of leadership. And it is really important that you are looking at yourself honestly, understanding all of your areas of growth, and understanding that there is a lot of impact that you can do in your teams. So remember, staying inspired and growing, it's about collaboration. It's about that people engagement. It's about leading with ethics and integrity. It's about being transparent in your communication, being honest. And we know that we don't always are able to say everything that we want to say, but building a message that has integrity and at least gives people enough information to understand that you can share this much and that more information will come later. That's part of accountability. And accountability on your team, but accountability on yourself. Leadership is action, it's communication, it's modeling. It's not a soft skill. It is something that we learn to do over time and through experiences and our own failures, which I believe failures are all about opportunities for learning and growing. And that is super important, is that we stay connected. I want to move into talking about commitment and growth, because commitment has two sides, and that is dedication and constraint. Dedication is what keeps us moving forward, and constraint keeps us from losing our cool when things don't go as we plan. And so I know that I've spent a lot of time in being dedicated to maintaining constraint. There's multiple layers and levels to this, but I want to give you this nugget. Our goal is to get people to do extraordinary work and extraordinary things, and keeping people committed to our mission and our goals. People will only do superior work because they want to. And so there has to be a personal commitment to this. And I put a great quote here. It's one of my favorites. This is for you. But I have this visual here that really talks about commitment. And you need four things. You need competence, clarity, influence, and appreciation. This is how you get people's buy-in. Remember, commitment is all about how you get people to buy into what is happening in the present moment. If you need to learn something new, if you need to understand something, if you're not clear about something, make sure that you are learning, that you are being clear and you are sharing information with people. And as I said, here you go. Commitment has the two sides: dedication and constraint. Make sure that you are being reliable and that you are being consistent. Remember, at the very beginning, I talked about relationships. I talked about being able to keep your skills of keeping safe environments as part of being consistent. Being consistent allows you to keep yourself in check. Constraint is about respect. Constraint is about walking into a room and not always being the first to speak. Constraint is about allowing others to complete their thought process. So you can simply listen so that you can have people feel heard and seen. This is one of the biggest areas of growth that we all are going to embark in. Last but not least, transformational leadership. Finally, transformational leadership isn't about being charismatic. It's truly about modeling integrity, having vision, and respect. It's about inspiring trust through consistent behaviors, not speeches. Transformational leaders are self-aware. They are committed, reflective, and willing to model the way forward. They nurture growth, they inspire confidence, and create environments where people can thrive. At the end of each day, you should be asking yourself, what impressions did I leave today? Did I model the kind of leadership I want others to follow? Did my actions build trust and support growth? Leadership is not a destination. It is a daily practice of reflection, accountability, and service. So let's commit to being leaders who decide with clarity, connect with safety, and always do our part. Because the leader in me is ultimately about becoming the kind of leader others are proud to follow. So I've been thinking a lot about those people who have given me leadership lessons. And I was watching a video um, this week, and I realized how important it is to really take a look back and see who has actually influenced your leadership style, because it dictates how you move forward, but also to honor those people who you've had in your life that you might have not given credit. And I began to think about what are some of the lessons that have been gifted that other people in my life may not know that they've gifted me. And so I wanted to start with telling you a story about my army days. And I was in the military. I did military for about 8 years, 3 active, 5 reserves, a total of 8. And I had a lot of struggles as a person going into a space that is very, very strict. And I had a lot of relational issues. One, because I was very young. Two, I was coming from an environment that wasn't optimal, and I'm coming into an environment that is super strict, right? Lots of boundaries, lots of rules. And I was a young person, and I had exposure to a lot of things that might have not been the best. And coming to an environment where there is an expectation that you almost have to be perfect is hard. And so in the 90s, things were a little different. Relational skills were different, what people expected of you. And, one of the things that I remember learning that relates to leadership is the act of selflessness. I had a colleague in the barracks who knew I'd struggled with money. I did a lot of other things well. But she knew I was not very good at that running thing. In the military, there's timed activities that you have to complete. And this woman was amazing at running. And she realized my struggle. And she was so compassionate, without judging it, without asking me why. She was older than me, I was younger. And she took the time to teach me how to pace my running. And I don't think you come to a job knowing what to do, right? But you need people in your life that, without judgment, are willing to show you and model that for you. And so lesson number one for me in leadership happened very early on in my life, from a complete stranger that I ended up having a wonderful relationship with while we were at basic training. And she taught me how to pace myself, how to run, how to breathe. But she also taught me the mindset of running. And I think that's something that leaders, as they transition into the roles, need to think about. It's no longer about the task at hand. It is how you support people in completing the job. Your job is now people. And she knew that. I didn't know that, but she knew that. She taught me that. The second lesson that I learned during that time, and it's all related to resiliency, right? My issues were I just couldn't run fast enough. I had this one guy, we finally I passed my basic training and I went into my career training. It's called MLS, your military training, what you're going to do during your time in the military. And it's my similar struggle, right? I was better, but now things get a little more intense. And this guy, it was the end of our military training. We were about to graduate and we have to get back on and run. And he has a different time that he has to meet this expectation. And I had a little bit more time and to do and meet the standard to pass the test of running. And the lesson number 2 was selflessness. We started the test together and he stayed with me for the first 4 minutes. He set me up for the pace. He encouraged me. And he said, "You can do this. I will be with you for the first 4 minutes, and then I have to go." He said, "But I will see you at the finish line." And so I not only had something to look forward to, I've been told by this person, "You will meet me there and you will get this done. And I've set you up." And so lesson 2 was selflessness. He sacrificed part of his time to support me in winning at this game of running. And I thought that was extraordinary. And I think the last lesson that I want to talk about today is when I finally got to my assignment, my direct supervisor at that time, Sergeant. Wow, this man took me under his wing. He didn't know me. He didn't knew who I was, but he knew I'd never been in an environment like this. He knew I was on my own. He knew I had family available to me at that time. And it can be a scary world. This man took me in as his own. He taught me the value of empathy. He taught me the value of tough love. But the lesson that he really, really taught me is that you don't give up on people. People are not to be thrown out. If you're able to identify that they have skill set, that they have the capacity to learn, the lesson was investment. This man used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and ask me to meet him, and he would pick me up from my barrack and we would go somewhere outside of our military base and he would drop me off and he'd said, "Run." And I was running before the battalions run. And he did that for me for 2 years until he got deployed somewhere else with his family. Every year you have to pass a physical test, and I never failed because he knew and I had shared with him what I needed support with. And he created a plan, whether it was comfortable, whether he wanted to get up that early or not. And he taught me the value of not only planning, but owning the fact that there was an area of growth for me that I just couldn't give up on. And so being able to have someone, different people, right? But having someone be consistent, learning, and being willing to be open to receiving those lessons, being humble, was really important. So I absolutely wanted to just have this reflection moment, because I think it doesn't matter who it is. What matters is what you are learning from each person that comes to your life to make you better. And I think I have the gift early on in my life to have people who had no relation to me that invested in my well-being and in my success. And those are all parts of transitioning into leadership. And I think one of the things that many emergent leaders struggle with. So I want to leave you with this today, and that is, number one, focus and strategize on how do you want to help someone. Pay attention and listen. My first coach was a person that noticed I couldn't run and said, all right, I'm going to set you up. I'm going to put you in the right mindset. I'm going to help you. And I was willing to accept the help. Lesson number two, selflessness. I asked for help, and this young man supported me, modeled for me, and was selfless enough to set me up for success, while also he met his needs and was winning at this game. And the third, consistency. This leader understood what the goals were, understood what I needed to succeed, and invested not only his time and knowledge, but invested himself in the belief that I could win and learn from him. And he did that consistently. And I was able to extract that lesson and continue on with feeling successful until I completed my assignment during those really long 3 years in the military doing active duty. So anyway, thank you for listening. And I hope that these 3 short lessons are skills and lessons that you can look back and think about who has done these for you and how can you implement these 3 lessons in the future. Hello and welcome to Leader Insights. Today, we are diving into our insights on the go, and our theme is empathetic leadership, a style centered on understanding and sharing the feelings of our team. But is empathy always beneficial in leadership? Let's explore the pros, cons, and misconceptions of empathetic leadership. So why empathetic leadership? One of the big questions. Why, as leaders, do we want to use this approach to build and promote our teams? High performance and, of course, effectiveness. Well, we're going to go over the benefits first. So let's start with improving trust and loyalty. When leaders show genuine empathy to their team members, they feel valued, they feel respected, understood, and it fosters a stronger level of trust. Empathetic leadership also helps us enhance our communication. Our job is to listen actively to the people we are responsible for, which then enables us to create an environment where open dialogue thrives. People should be able to feel connected to you and have a willingness to speak with you honestly. And not just honestly, but transparently. Employees feel safe when they have a voice of their own and they're able to express their thoughts. And this is all part of how you as a leader show up and become empathetic. And remember, the goal of empathy is to seek understanding. The next benefit is higher employee engagement. You want your staff members to be engaged with you, to be engaged with one another, but to also feel emotionally safe that who they are, what they say, and what they contribute actually matters. So make sure that when you're leading, that you're focused on creating a space where there's psychological safety and your employees are able to come to the table with their thoughts and their ideas without concern that there's going to be judgment, that there's going to be bias, or that there's going to be a rebuttal about what they're bringing into the conversation. The other benefit to this is that it allows engagement and retention. So not only do you have a group of people engaged having conversations with you, they are also willing to stay. Remember, people quit their jobs because of poor leadership. So being empathetic and building those relationships actually matters. Last but not least, strong team cohesion. Empathy builds strong relationships, fosters collaboration, and it really creates a much better team dynamic. Now let's jump right into the pitfalls. So what are some of the things that may hinder this approach of leadership? Now, risk of emotional burnout. It takes a really strong leader to exercise a level of empathy towards their team. And remember, oftentimes it is you, the leader, that's doing this with multiple people, right? And so you have to be vulnerable and able to not only manage your own emotions, but be present. Do not allow your emotions to get in the way of being able to listen to someone with purpose and with intention. And that could be training, right? And if you're not doing things to take care of yourself, you are going to feel burnt out. So it's really important that you understand that while you are managing with empathy, you also have to take care of yourself. You have to manage your own emotions. Now, the other piece here is difficulty making tough decisions. We are social beings. We want to be able to do what's right for people, and we want people to feel good. We want people to enjoy our company and like us. But in leadership, it's not about liking, it's about effectiveness, it's about being consistent, and it's about the collective, right? It's about making decisions that are going to benefit the team and the organization that you are representing. So remember, they both go hand in hand. You can be empathetic and also make very complex decisions. It is in the how that sets good leaders apart, right? So make sure that when you are tasked with making a difficult decision, that you're doing it without taking the dignity of someone else. Do not hesitate. Make sure that you always go back to the facts, and that you are making the decisions, not because you want to be liked, so you become the yes person, but because you want to be effective, because you want to move the organization's goal and mission forward. So remember, leaders sometimes have to do unpopular decisions, and that's okay. Also work with managing your own emotions as you enter in that phase of decision-making process. And how do you make that decision-making process inclusive, right? Part of empathetic leadership is not just understanding, but it's also having a high degree of transparency so that you can maintain trust. Very important. The other piece here is bias, the potential of bias. When you are in a relationship with people, there's going to be people that you gravitate to because there's just lots of commonality. So it's really important that you begin to understand that you are responsible for all, right? There's no differentiation here. We manage people differently, but our path on how we engage people should be the same. So don't get caught into unintentionally leading to favoritism or creating the perception that there is favoritism towards particular people or their circumstances, right? Great example of this is a person who's single and has apparently all the time in the world to a person who might have children. And we create some biases, and we may manage people differently based on capacity, based on time. Maybe we have a bias related to this person has a family, so they need to get extra time or less time during different tasks or designated work. Really important that you are looking at the big picture and that you're making fair decisions based on the work, based on capacity. Everybody has a responsibility to hold transparency, to be honest, and to ensure that we are treating all of us equitably and that it's, a shared common experience for all your employees. The other piece here is boundaries. Setting boundaries. Leaders need to be able to set boundaries. And some of us will struggle with that. Some people, it's a little easier, but setting boundaries is something that it's appropriate in a professional setting. You don't want to risk your personal professionalism and the organization's success because you have not been able to set proper boundaries so that you can have healthy, honest professional relationships. Now, let's talk about misconceptions. Have you ever heard, empathy equals weakness? Well, I used to hear that all the time. You're just too nice, Antonio. You're just too nice. And the truth is that you can be nice, and I am actually nice, right? But often empathy can lead to the misconception that we are soft and that we are weak. In reality, empathy requires a lot of strength and a lot of emotional intelligence. It requires your ability to be selfless, to put yourself aside so that you can be present in someone else's experience. So remember that, it is not a weakness. It is actually a superpower, and I truly believe that. Empathy means always saying yes. No, it doesn't mean that. People could perceive that. There's a big misconception about that. But we talked about making hard decisions. Empathy gives you the information that you need and the understanding that you need to actually make effective decisions that creates and brings balance to the decision-making process. So don't allow others to have a misconception about empathy. Always explain the why. Why am I making these decisions? Effective leaders always find the balance between understanding and decision-making. Last but not least, empathy leaders are easily manipulated. I don't know. Do you feel that way? Have you implemented your empathetic hat as you manage your teams? If you have, and this has been your experience, how do we combat that, right? Leaders make decisions for their audience, right? For their teams. And sometimes someone is going to bring a really good idea, and you may say, this is a good idea, and it's going to meet the needs of the entire team. Someone in your team may feel that they're not being listened to, or that you have favoritism, or that this person manipulated you into that. I think a way to combat that is a combination of clear boundaries and strong communication, right? What are the expectations? So making it known and creating that inclusive dialogue, bringing people into the conversation so that at the end of the day, we feel like we made that decision together. Always with a lot of honesty and transparency. So now we're at the end of this small insights on the go. I want to thank you for listening. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think about empathetic leadership? Share your comments, share your lessons. Has empathetic leadership yielded positive results for you or your team? Join us, follow, like our video, and remember, empathetic leadership can significantly shape organizational culture and enhance team performance positively. Like any method, it needs balance. So recognizing the benefits, understanding the potential drawbacks, and dispelling misconceptions can help you lead with empathy effectively. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome back to Leader Insights. Today we have a new episode on Insights on the Go, and our theme of the day is going to be on the impact of bias on decision making. Now, this is an important topic for us to explore as leaders because leaders are consistently making decisions that shape team dynamics and outcomes, but hidden biases can significantly impact these choices. So let's discuss the effects of bias, how to recognize it, and strategies to minimize its influence. All right, so let's take a moment to define bias and talk about 3 different types that may come up for all of us as we manage teams. So bias truly refers to the preconceived notion or preferences that affect objectivity. How does that show up? Well, confirmation bias is about seeking information that confirms our own beliefs, and we disregard someone else's opposing view. The second thing that will come up as bias is affinity bias. This is when people have claims of favoritism, potentially, and these look like you have similar backgrounds, interests, and personality. The last bias here that will play a role in potentially your decision-making process could be anchoring bias, relying heavily on initial information that you received when making a decision without having any further exploration. Now let's go over a little bit of the impact biases in decision-making can lead to. Well, first, it can lead to unfairness and inequity. Decisions influenced by biases create an uneven opportunity and discourages diversity and inclusion. Second, it reduces your team morale. Perceived favoritism or unjust treatment lowers motivation and trust among your team members. Poor decision quality. Biases prevents objective analysis, leading to decisions based on incomplete or skewed information. Innovation limitations. Lack of diverse perspectives due to biases restricts creativity and innovative thinking within your team. So it's really important that you think about and dig deep to understand what are some of your biases and what are some of those limiting beliefs that you may have that stop you from really creating a culture of diversity and a culture of open dialogue so that everybody can have their voice heard during the process of decision making. So how do we recognize and minimize bias? Well, the first thing is self-awareness. It is really important that you're looking at yourself consistently. So acknowledge your biases by regularly reflecting on your decision and behaviors. So make sure that you're paying attention to yourself and where you find yourself wanting to be right. Sometimes that is a part of a bias that you may have. So if you find yourself believing that everything that you're saying, it's what it is, there might be a bias there, and it'd be important for you to stop, reflect, think about the behavior, think about the decision that you're about to make, and take a moment to pause. Seek diverse perspectives. You shouldn't be the only one sharing information. So think about this. Actively involve your team members with different points of view and experiences. Whether you agree or disagree, it's not about that. It's about allowing other information to come into the space so that you can make a sound decision that takes many perspectives into account. The other piece here is one that I think it's super important, and it's standardizing the process. Have a structure on how do you make decisions. Make a decision-making tool or build a criteria to ensure that there is fairness and consistency in the whole process. Last but not least is training and education. Invest in bias awareness training for yourself and for your team so that you can continue to build an inclusive culture within your team and in your organization. So just a closing thought here is bias is a natural aspect of us being humans. So if we allow biases to be a part of our decision-making process, you will be diminishing your team's ability to be successful, but also to feel that they belong in a community that it's all about creativity and innovation. So it is essential for you as a leader to regularly examine your thought process and adopt strategies that encourage fairness, neutrality, and inclusion. So I want to thank you for joining our Leader Insights on the Go. If you found this valuable, please share, like, and subscribe, and give your thoughts and comments. Tell us how your leadership journey is going. We'd like to learn from you as well. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.